Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Today I'm going to discuss about, something very relevant to the year 2020. No, it is not the US election. I don't know if I have enough faculties to actually discuss that particular topic, but this did enough digging around to maybe know what I'm talking about. But then again, disclaimer, I am not a medical professional, so you gotta take what I'm talking about with a grain of salt, alright? I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a medical researcher, etc. I'm just some dude talking to a camera, that's it. Anyway, let's get into it. So, this happened last week. Is a dangerous new coronavirus strain circulating in farmed mink. Apparently, they're now killing minks. The Danish government has ordered the slaughter of all farmed mink in the country after the reported discovery of a mutant form of coronavirus in the animals. It has already spread to humans. Has it really? The SARS-CoV-2 virus apparently has a great capacity for mutating and evolving. Like as early as February, it already had a mutated strain that actually had maybe twice the amount of spike proteins around its shell, so that it actually becomes even more contagious. It was first spotted in Germany, and then it spread to America, maybe? I don't know, I'm not sure. That's just something I saw from a Vox video. 207 mink farms have seen infections of coronavirus. The authorities have failed to contain the virus, and all 17 million farmed mink in Denmark will now be culled. Damn, that's a lot. That's a lot of minks. Can they still use the fur? Because that is what minks are farmed for, right? For mink fur, for coats. Like, look at those cute little critters. Yeah, they farm them. Ugh. Denmark is the world's biggest producer of mink fur, and its main export markets are, China and Hong Kong, of course. The culling began late last month as many mink cases were detected. Coronavirus cases have also been detected in farmed mink in the Netherlands and Spain since the pandemic began in Europe. But cases are spreading fast in Denmark. 207 mink farms in Jutland are affected, and at least 5 cases of the new virus strain were found. 12 people have become infected. Wow. Damn, this thing spreads fast. More than 50 million mink a year are bred for their fur, mainly in China, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Poland. Outbreaks have been reported in fur farms in the Netherlands, Denmark, Spain, Sweden, and the United States, and millions of animals have already been culled. The mink, like their close relatives ferrets, are known to be susceptible to coronavirus, and like humans, they can show a range of symptoms, from no signs of illness at all to severe problems such as pneumonia. Mink become infected through catching the virus from humans. But genetic detective work has shown that in small number of cases in the Netherlands and now in Denmark, the virus seems to have passed the other way, from mink to humans. The big public health concern is that any mutation to the coronavirus as it passes between mink and humans may be enough to stop human vaccines from working, if and when they become available. Some scientists are now calling for a complete ban on mink production, saying it impedes our response and recovery from the pandemic. Damn, that is a problem. And those are the mink being culled, oh boy. I don't think their fur is going to be used, since, those carcasses will have the viruses. And now, parts of northern Denmark on lockdown over coronavirus variant outbreak in minks. What is it? What's the plural of mink? Mink plural. Oh, so both are valid. Mink or minks. Is it like fish and fishes? Denmark is putting over 250,000 residents on lockdown after discovering coronavirus outbreaks among bred minks, including a mutated strain. And now, according to the World Health Organization, scientists have not yet noted changes to the mink-related strain of the COVID-19 virus identified in Denmark that affect transmissibility, disease severity, or reinfection in people, but further evidence is needed. So basically, this is pretty much a precautionary measure. We're just making sure that this is not something that'll give us a lot more trouble in the future. Because, well, the coronavirus exists now. There's no changing that fact. It exists. The very least that we can do right now is to make sure that it doesn't get any worse, it doesn't get any more contagious, and that if there are any coronavirus outbreaks in animals, well, we're going to preemptively get to it before it becomes an actual problem in humans. And for those who don't know what a mink is, they're dark-colored, semi-aquatic, dark-colored, the ones we saw were white. Semi-aquatic carnivorous mammals of the genera Neovicin and Mostella. Mostella is, okay, the muskrat is not Mostella. I gotta correct myself. Always look it up. There are two extant species referred to as mink, the American mink and the European mink. The extinct sea mink is related to the American mink, but was much larger. Sea mink? Looks cool, they're sea minks. Was first described in 1903 after its extinction. Oh, okay, it was exploited and then rendered extinct. That's sad. Was like the dodo bird. So we gotta know more about this mink coronavirus. So, what happened and should we be worried? SARS-CoV-2 is not mutating as fast as other related viruses, but because it has been circulating in the human population for some time now, there's quite a large set of mutations that have emerged. Yeah, the thing about mutations in viruses is that, for the most part, mutations are like a dime a dozen. Most viruses, most of anything with genetic material in it, they want to stay the same. Like, mutations don't happen like, in the X-Men universe. One generation after, boom, mutation. There could be something new. But actually, it doesn't work that way. Most mutations are, they do next to nothing, as far as I know. But the ones that do get through, they do make big changes to, in this case, the virus. So what do we know about the coronavirus mutations? 7 mutations have been identified so far, all of them in the spike protein on the virus's surface. So that is the one. One called Y453F was previously identified in an outbreak of SARS-CoV-2 on a mink farm in the Netherlands in April. It goes as far back as that? Jeez. It too was transmitted to humans, but it does not appear to have spread. Well, should we be worried? There are reports that virus particles with one of these mutations are less well neutralized by antibodies in people who have had COVID-19. This could, in theory, render a vaccine less effective, particularly because many of the vaccines under development target the spike protein, which is obvious, yeah, so that, you don't contract the COVID-19 disease to begin with. The true implication of the changes in the spike protein have not yet been evaluated by the international scientific community and are thus unclear. It's too early to say that the change will cause either vaccines or immunity to fail. What we're counting on with the virus and with COVID-19 survivors is that, they have antibodies and thus they can't contract SARS-CoV-2 again, right? That's what we're counting on. So that's what they mean when they say, yeah, I got antibodies. I have had COVID-19 before. I survived. I still can't taste anything or smell anything, which is sad. Pizza tastes even sadder than before. At the very least, I survived, right? And now I have antibodies. I'm in no danger to myself or to other people now because I got antibodies. But because of these mutations, that's a problem. Since the mutations are happening to the spike proteins, the very thing that lets the virus latch onto the cells in the human body to begin with, especially in the respiratory system, that's a problem. It is also relatively easy to tweak vaccines. This happens every year with the influenza vaccine. Yeah, that's why we need regular vaccinations. flu vaccines. If that's also going to be a thing for COVID-19, that means we need yearly injections. If they can make it as affordable and readily available as flu vaccines, okay, that could be better. But, as far as I know, influenza and COVID-19 have had fairly similar fatality rates, right? But yeah, having another virus that can kill people if they're not healthy, well, yeah, that's a problem. The big thing about the coronavirus so far has been that it's kind of random. You don't know if you're gonna be someone who isn't badly affected by it or if it's something that will kill you. It kind of is random. It's based on so many factors. I have read that people with blood type O are less susceptible to COVID-19 than, let's say, someone who is not blood type O. That's not entirely proven. Remember, in science, correlation does not equal causation. Always remember that. Do the mink really need to be culled? Well, it's probably a wise precaution. Culling mink may well not in itself cause the strain to disappear, but it may stop further mutant strains from developing in that species. Yeah, well, it's necessary, but people in the mink fur industry, too bad. As if businesses couldn't have any more problems already. But maybe stop wearing fur to begin with. Just saying. Look at that cute little thing. They're killing that to give you fur coats. Alright? Anyway, spread of mutated coronavirus in Danish mink hits all the scary buttons. But fears may be overblown. We can never rule out anything, but in principle, it shouldn't. It should definitely not increase transmission. I don't see any reason why this should make the virus more severe. Well, okay. Let's see over time how that statement ages. Maybe it will not age well. Or maybe it will. He's the expert, not me. Hopefully it's just dust in the wind, but you never know. At least being aware that stuff like this can happen, because the coronavirus can infect just about any mammal. Hopefully it doesn't infect chickens. Could it infect chickens? Oh shit, maybe it can. Oh, okay. Chickens are not susceptible. Well, hopefully so, poultry world. Can it infect reptiles? There's no evidence of transmission of SARS-CoV-2 between animals and humans. No. Come on, it came from a bat. Yes, there is evidence of transmission. We got COVID-19. Well, hopefully it doesn't cross not just species, but also different types of animals. We're mammals. So, coronavirus jumping from mammal to mammal, that does make sense. But does it also jump to birds? Does it also jump to reptiles and amphibians? Well, hopefully not, but earlier in the year, we had news of coronavirus jumping to cats and dogs. And there's record of feline coronavirus is a common viral infection in cats. It generally causes asymptomatic infection, but can cause mild diarrhea. Oh yeah, speaking of coronavirus and diarrhea. Oh, get a load of this. This happened a month or two ago? Yeah, this was last month. Another swine coronavirus discovered. Another one. Uh-oh. Researchers at the University of North Carolina recently discovered a highly pathogenic virus, swine acute diarrhea syndrome coronavirus, or SADS-CoV, with a potential to infect humans. Well, they're pretty good at naming things, I guess. It seems another potential zoonotic virus has emerged in the swine population, as if swine flu wasn't enough. As reported in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, researchers believe the virus first emerged from bats. Oh boy, bats again. Ugh. SADS-CoV is an alpha coronavirus that causes vomiting and acute diarrhea in pigs. Since its discovery in 2016, the virus has infected swine herds across China. Furthermore, it is associated with a 90% mortality rate in piglets. Was that the reason why maling was banned for a while? From what I heard? Well, we stopped buying luncheon meat because of that. Well, we're buying it again, but now or buying Gulong brand because I find that more delicious. This does not bode well for the pig industry. Swine acute diarrhea syndrome coronavirus is a coronavirus related to rhinolophus bat coronavirus HKU2. It is transmitted through the feces of horseshoe bats. Oh no, not them again. Oh, hello, soup bat. People eat these. Why? Why would you eat these? Look at it. It's cute. But it's a bat. Let's just keep Batmans to Bruce Wayne and that's it. Why eat it? Piglets less than 5 days old die with a probability of 90%. Okay, because their immune systems have not fully formed yet. SADS-CoV was identified during the severe acute respiratory syndrome outbreak. Yeah, caused by the SARS-CoV-2 in Guangdong 2016 onwards. Oh, that's the CoV-1 virus. That's not the current thing we're worried about. That was the prequel. The prequel to SARS-CoV-2. Electric Boogaloo. Wherein it caused the deaths of more than 24,000 piglets in just 4 farms. Jesus. Current research says it can infect humans. And apparently, SARS swine coronavirus replicates in human cells. Uh-oh. So it can jump species. It can jump to us. And it's gonna give you diarrhea. Wait a minute. I had diarrhea like a few days ago. Well, I'm pooping solid now, so it's nothing. But man, the diarrhea I had last Wednesday. I went 4 times and each time it was like my soul was being pulled out of me. No, this research paper on Nature, and it's published April 4th, 2018. If a study is published on Nature, you gotta take it seriously. Nature is one of the more serious scientific journals out there. It was penned by mostly Chinese guys. It definitely, this is a Chinese thing. Cross-species transmission of viruses from wildlife animal reservoirs pose a marked threat to human and animal health. Bats have been recognized as one of the most important reservoirs for emerging viruses, and the transmission of a coronavirus that originated in bats to humans via intermediate hosts was responsible for the high-impact emerging zoonosis. Bats indeed are virus reservoirs because they are flying mammals. Flying takes a lot of energy, and because of that, the resources in their body need to be reserved mostly for flying so that they can actually, survive, live as bats. That also means energy is taken away from what should be their immune system. But because of that, bats have evolved to have a fairly unique immune system. So that they can harbor like tons of diseases inside them, but not get sick. That's their mechanism. Okay, the viruses can live in us, they can replicate in us, but it doesn't make us sick. That is how they've evolved. I'm kind of paraphrasing, so don't take my word for it. There's like a lot of material explaining how bats become, virus reservoirs. That's pretty much how they survive. But because of that, it's not a good idea to keep bats as pets or eat them as food. Please just don't. We missed SARS-CoV-2. So what other coronaviruses are we ignoring? That's the thing. It's ignored if it doesn't make big waves in the media. SARS had been known since 2003. That was 17 years ago? That's the year I graduated from high school. I'm 34 now, so took that time. I guess it's just that people like to ignore apocalyptic scenarios. Anything that may spell the end of the world, like epidemics and natural disasters and just about any sort of collapse, economic collapse, societal collapse. That stuff, that's for conspiracy theorists. That's for them. That's for the kooks, the whacks, the mental cases. That shit is fantastical, right? That shit will not happen in real life. I guess 2020 had to happen to remind us that shit can happen. As recent as 3 years ago, people knew that this was going to happen. Well, virologists know. There's this book called Deadliest Enemy by Michael T. Osterholm and Mark Olshaker or Olshaker? I'll call him Oil Shaker. They're virologists, and they wrote this book back in 2017, 3 years ago. And chapter 13 has been cited as pretty much the most ominous of the chapters here. SARS and MERS, harbingers of things to come. And the opening quote comes from MEDizzy by Rudyard Kipling. And the dawn comes up like thunder, outer China, cross the bay. It mentions China. They knew something was going to come out of China. And this basically tells the story of SARS when it first came up in 2003, as well as MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. By the way, this is a very good book. It talks a lot about viruses and epidemics and how authorities, how governments, how societies respond to them. Vaccines, the sharpest arrow in our quiver. Malaria, AIDS, and TB, lest we forget. Bioterror, Ebola, mosquitoes, the Zika virus, influenza, and the pandemic. Yeah, it talks about pandemics. Like, they published this 3 years ago. Well, it's better late than never. Go get this book. I have it in EPUB form, so I can put it into my tablet so I can read it every now and then, over and over again. Because it's a very interesting book. I recommend this. And I guess that's all I can talk about with this topic. Anyway, that's all for now. Till next time, stay safe, stay Tor.